Hi friends, welcome back to my studio. I'm Katie and today we're doing a pen video, which I haven't done one of those in a while. I might do a couple of recap ones here at the end of the year, but I wanted to make a video about my current very favorite pen. Now favorite is obviously a complicated term, but if we're doing it by which one I have on me all the time and use all the time, it's this one. I think there are other ones that are, win as like my prettiest, my most sentimental, favorite is a complicated term. But I love this pen and I use it all of the time. This is the Ensso Bolt, and it launched for pre-order early in the year. They started shipping out over the summer. I didn't support the Kickstarter. I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of how people liked it. And when people started getting them, the reviews were really positive. And in particular, my friend Claudia got one and was just like raving about it. And we've talked about it all of the time since then. So thank you, Claudia, for indulging me in that. So honestly, this is a fountain pen for people who love gel pens. It's bolt action. So for those of you who like a clicky pen, which I do, it's so handy. So this is my everyday carry. It's the thing I tote along with my planner back and forth to work with me all of the time. Let's talk about why this pen compared to some of the others. So I do have a Pilot Vanishing Point, and I do love it, although it hasn't been getting a lot of use this year. I have the blue Carbon S, which I think is just gorgeous. Let's see if we can get how like sparkly it is. It's so pretty. And I love it, but it's got an 18 karat gold nib, and I worry about it if I were to carry it around with me all the time. It's also maybe, I don't know that it's thicker than I want, but it is certainly thicker than this. Mostly it's that I don't want to carry it around all of the time with me. Obviously there are things I could do. There are nib units, either from Pilot that I could get that are steel, or I could get the Mahjong one or whatever. But the thing is, like, I'm not interested in spending my time worrying about it. And so what's ironic about that is that this pen is not that much cheaper. And so when I decided to like maybe get it, that's what I was wrestling with. Like, why am I worried about this pen and like totally fine with this pen? And what I ended up coming to the conclusion of is that I'm not actually that afraid of losing it. I mean, I would be really sad to lose it, but like I think the danger I am more in is not losing it, but dropping it. And the nib unit for this is only like, I don't know, between 20 and 30 bucks, I think. And whereas, the nib unit for this one is like 90 or something. I don't remember. I haven't checked. I just am less worried about this. I also don't think it looks like much on the desk. Like, I don't know that it looks like anything special or like anything anyone feels like stealing. Theft isn't a huge problem for me at work, but like it's worth considering. I don't think this really draws the eye. I mean, not that it's not really beautifully designed, but I don't know that it stands out compared to like a substantially like cheaper pen that might be on someone's desk. So, I mean, the truth is, I don't worry about it. It's made out of titanium too. It doesn't have the beautiful lacquer. I just don't spend my time worrying about it too much. I still always like double check to make sure I have it when I leave a location. But other than that, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about it. I do like the bolt action. There are some people who don't like that it's not easy to line up the like, you can line up the nib with the bolt, but the nib has a tendency to like rotate. I wondered if I would worry about that, but it really doesn't bother me. I don't spend that much time thinking about it. The only thing that does kind of bother me about the Bolt is that it's constantly getting loose, and I'm constantly retightening it. I think I could probably add some Loctite or something to it, but I haven't so far, but I'm a little afraid of losing that Bolt. I have the extra fine nib, and I really am glad that's the one I got. This is, for me, a planner pen. It's used for putting stuff in small, you know, one point something inch columns, and it works great for that. The reverse on it's decent. I mean, it's quite thin, but it's like a little prone to hang up on pages, but it's not terrible, and I could maybe smooth that if I wanted to. So sometimes I do use the reverse, but usually I use the forward, and it's totally fine for my B6 planner. In the passport planner I used at the beginning of the year, I think it would maybe be a smidge broad. So it's worth noting that some of what's making it a little broad is the ink that I'm using. I'm using the Diatramentis document inks, and that's going to be a decent amount of what we're going to talk about in this video is ink choice. So Doodlebug did a great video comparing how long things stay wet, and the Bolt did a great job, and I agree. I think it's a great pen and it does a great job, but the standards are a little higher if you're using pigment ink. It's just a little more prone to gunk and whatever, and so I have spent some time figuring out my perfect document ink. So that's content you're looking for. I have done the research. So I will note that this is specific to extra fine, which is the only one I have, although my friend Claudia has a fine, and so I do have a little bit of information from her as well. I'll just go ahead and actually tell you, she really likes the Rohrer & Klinger sketch inks, in particular Lily, I think, which is the black. She's had a lot of success with that. That's her go-to. I tried it in the extra fine and didn't love it. So when we talk about what the problems here are, it's that all of them work great if you're using the pen all of the time. Well, most of them work great if you're using the pen all the time. The use case where I was running into trouble with these inks is in a scenario in which I skip a day or two, like the weekend. Often, you know, this is my on-the-go pen, and on the weekends I don't always use it, although I am more and more. And that can be a place that can really differentiate how these different pigment inks behave. And so lots of the pigment inks that I've had a problem with, that is the use case I've had an issue, is if I skip a day. So, and what happens is it gets clogged. So I tried the Rohrer & Klinger sketch inks. I tried the Octopus Fluids Write and Draw inks, which I generally really like. I didn't try Platinum Carbon Black because that's already one that's not my favorite from like a clogging perspective. Your opinions may vary, but for me, the standout winner is the Diatramentis document inks, and they are wet, and so that's part of what's maybe making my line width broader, but it does mean that I am way less likely to have clogs. It's not that I never have clogs anymore. They happen. I'm still not perfect about using them, but way less clogs for me with that one in the extra fine. When I have a clog, what I do is, because often I'm like at work, what I do is I take one of those water brushes. So when I have a clog, the easiest way I found to deal with it when I'm like on the go is I often have a water brush with me already because I like to paint. And what I'll do is I will open the nib. I'll take, this is a bad, I don't like this one. This isn't one of the other ones again. I'll like squeeze a little water into my water brush, and I'll like paint on the nib and the feed, and that usually gets it going again pretty quickly without too much mess. So that's my favorite. I do have like a piece of scratch paper that I can like write on it. That's been my go-to way of dealing with it. One thing to know is that it is a pen that you can't see how much ink it is in it, and when you open it, you will get ink on you, on your hands. So I try to open it as little as possible because the ink gets, I'll show you here. The ink gets on the little, there's like a visible amount of ink, and oh, that's a bubble, but the ink is happening in here. It's on the spring, it's on the nib unit. I've never had a problem with it getting ink on stuff in my purse or anything. The seal does a great job of preventing that, but it does mean that like when I'm opening it to get in there and clean it, I have to like have some rags around and be prepared to get ink on my hands. And so that's part of why my favorite declogging technique does not involve opening it up. I got the optional clip. For me, that was a requirement because I needed to be able to put it in a pen loop, and I'm really glad to have that. And I've just been really, really happy with it. It goes with me everywhere. I use it all the time. It's maybe not the best pen for me for long writing sessions. It's very kind of thin and straight, but I actually don't find it to be too bad. And for long writing sessions, that's a good time to use a more of a fun pen. This is for list making, quick note jotting, and it's perfect for that. So I'm a big fan. I love it a lot. I use it a lot. They just announced a brass version, which I am like on the fence about getting. On the one hand, I'm like, do I need to? On the other hand, maybe I do need to. Brass isn't like a go-to metal for me, but I could imagine it looking really cool as it patinas. So I'm on the fence about that. I've spent my stationery budget for the year for the most part, so I think my current plan is to see if they're still in stock in the new year when I recharge my budget. And if they're not, then so be it. If they are, then maybe I'll get one. But also I'm excited for the possibility that Ensso might make other metal versions or anodized or something. I really like this titanium one, but I like this titanium pen so much I wouldn't mind having multiples. Yeah, it hasn't ended up being a cheap pen in that respect because I do kind of want to collect them all. Anyway, that's been my months-long review on the Ensso Bolt and my advice about document inks for the extra fine nib. I haven't ever used it with a non-pigment ink, so I don't have any advice there, but lots of other people on YouTube have talked about this pen in more of that context, so I kind of figure like this is the lane where I can answer some questions. So if you have any questions about this pen, feel free to leave them below and I'll try to answer them, and have fun. Oh, this is a thing I happen to know off the top of my head. It's 24 grams, because I looked it up because the brass one is heavier, like 38. So if you're curious, it's 24, which is sometimes helpful to know. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with me. We'll talk again soon. Bye, friends.